got to work on Tiana, Naveen. I will say though, as much as I love that ride, I do not like drop rides. My finale is at the end of the ride. So in order to see my animation, I had to ride that ride so many times. I had to ride through the entire ride and I cried every time.
I feel like I had to ride it 250 times.
I had to ride it over 50 times.
On this week's episode, we have my very good friend, Jessica Badgerow, who is an animator who has worked at studios such as Disney, Sony, Blue Sky, and Walt Disney Imagineering. She's worked on projects such as The Sea Beast, Smallfoot, Storks, Wish, and Tiana's Bayou Adventure, just to name a few. Please welcome to the show, character animator and Imagineer, Jess Badgerow.
Thank you for having me, Nick.
Yes. Hello, my friend.
Hello,
Welcome.
my friend. Thank you.
So, what would you say you do for a living?
I would always describe myself as an animator, and if I do often get the question, what does an animator do? And essentially I would chalk it up to I'm a puppeteer, and I'll take an unmoving doll and put it in a series of poses to portray movement and personality. And that's used both digitally and physically in both the film world and on animatronic figures. So I get to really apply it to both.
You're bringing these characters to life for not only the movies, but like you said, in the theme parks too, which must be a completely different experience, even though I'm sure that they're similar.
It's so interesting. They are similar in the aspect of I'm still trying to get a lot of behavior out of the figure, but the main differences are, the only limitations you would have on a film or on a TV show is the style. And you kind of have a free-for-all in an invisible space. But animatronics very much, all the physics do apply. So that's always interesting, working with those limitations and seeing if you can still get the same personality and effect out of a figure if you just get a wave or a nod or a body tilt.
Yeah.
But I'm happy to say at least I can apply a lot of the same principles that I did in film to the animatronic figures, which is very much a relief. One of the main challenges is trying to utilize maximum movement for less, where in film you can essentially move every body part as you wish, but in some of the robots in the theme parks, you might not have a body twist and a head twist, but maybe you have one angle where you can at least tilt it back and forth. And can you use that in the same way and still get a similar movement?
You really do get these amazing, realistic performances, even with your limited, controls.
Yeah, and the technology is just getting better and better. So it's always fun to see what new things we can pull off per project.
Do you have a project that you're proudest to have worked on?
It's really hard because usually when you say that, you start to think of so many that you worked on. But I have two. And the first one is Storks at Sony Pictures Imageworks. And it's one of my favorites because it was my first feature film. And it was one of the hardest films I had to do, even though all of my shots are incredibly simple on the film. Because I was a junior, I got very simple shots. But it was moving from television to feature and really finding all the polish that goes into a shot that I didn't have time to do in television, and really pushing and getting told, oh, it looks good, but keep going, keep going. And that was a big challenge. So finishing that was really fun. And I got to do one of my favorite shots in the film.
What was the shot?
The shot was of Tulip, who's one of the main characters, talking to the other main character, Junior, and they have discovered the baby making factory. And Tulip unwittingly begins the process of making a baby. And just shenanigan ensues once she realizes her mistake. Right. So that was just a really fun reaction shot to do. And it's still one of my favorites that I look back on.
So cool.
Yeah. And the second one is one that I did much more recent, which was The Sea Beast, which used to be called Jacob and the Sea Beast. And that was just another really hard production in terms of the quality that they wanted out of animators and what they asked for, but the production and the story were so good.
Yeah.
It was just a great project to work on. And I got to work again with two of the main characters for one of my favorite shots, which was Maisie and Blue. So Maisie is holding up Blue in front of Jacob, and Blue does not give a hoot, and he's doing a big yawn. So I got to explore a lot of cat yawns and just how the muscles would pull back from the face. And the lead that I was working on really asked and pushed a lot on that shot. So I was really happy with how it turned out.
Yeah. And that's such a great movie too.
It was such a fun movie.
Was there a film or a TV show that inspired you to get into animation in the first place?
I was very impressionable as a child. It wasn't necessarily a film, but it was mostly Saturday morning cartoons or Saturday evening cartoons. I mean, anime had a huge influence. But when I was a kid, you know, any of the shows that would come on, I would immediately pretend that I was one of the characters in the shows. And I would think, oh, how would I react if the main character was my best friend? And all of that would carry forward, not when I was a teenager, only when I was a kid. But I began to start to draw myself as a character and then try to match the style of the show. And eventually that kind of came to, I want to make the drawings move. I was hoping one day to originally be a 2D animator because I drew since I was a young age, but I was very limited in what I knew the 3D world was, or like how big it was when we were really getting into the industry. And it was my mom that pushed me towards it because, you know, as much as I love to draw, I'm a very okay drawer. I wouldn't say I don't believe really good. You've never seen my drawing. There's a reason. But it was my mom who encouraged me to check out CG animation. And I'm so glad she did, because the schools were a lot more accessible. It was a lot more affordable than Sheridan, which was the main school in Canada. I moved to Vancouver to finish out school, and that was really where my career took off. I started in television, and then I was able to move from feature to feature from there.
Yeah, what was your first gig in television?
My first gig was at a studio called Nerdcore, which I believe has now merged with DHX, and I think that studio still exists. And my first show was a made-for-TV movie called Monster High. So it was so exciting to see my first credit and my first but not last misspelling of my name, which was great. I was so excited to get the DVD, and then at the end I was like, oh, dang.
And then from there, what was your first gig in feature films?
My first gig was Storks at Sony Pictures Sony Pictures Imageworks, and I have nothing but great things to say about Sony. Now, it's definitely marked up there as like with Disney, with Blue Sky, but you know, it was more of a VFX studio, not as much of an animation studio until, you know, about 10 years ago, and when it really pushed for like Surf's Up and Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. So it was a great studio to start at.
Yeah. I think they worked on like the Spider-Man films, like the Amazing Spider-Man and all that stuff, the visual effects. And then of course, as soon as Spider-Verse came out, boom. But Spider-Man is a big deal to Sony.
It's huge. Yeah. But their VFX works are fantastic.
Yeah.
But I really like their animation.
It's also the studio that seems to push style the most, which is...
They do a lot of changes. They have some of... I mean, I don't know if this is a Sony thing, but they have some of the ugliest sidekicks, in my opinion. Like
in the best way.
In the best way. Like Blue, it's a very cute character. It's not cute-ish. It's kind of cute.
It's pretty cute.
It's fairly... the pug from... Mitchell's versus the Machines.
Yeah.
The rat birds from Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs.
Yeah, there's a theme here.
There's a theme. There's a good theme.
Yeah, but I think between like Hotel Transylvania and Smallfoot and Emoji Movie and Spider-Verse, like those are four totally different... Very different styles.
Yeah,
you know?
And different style forms too.
Yeah. And did you get to work on like various different types of characters at a place like that?
There was a variety. I got to work on birds and storks. I got to work, on Smurfs. That was really good. Yetis from Smallfoot. I got to work
Really
on
small, really big.
really small, really big. I got to work a bit on Over the Moon, so we got to do more realistic animation. And then Jacob was a very realistic thing. But working on Hotel Transformania, that was really fun. And Vivo for a little bit. So yeah, they do have a variety of things that you can work on, which is great.
Did you get to work with Glenn Keane on Over the Moon?
A little bit. It was great, because I was there for such a short amount of time, but very much sitting in an Anim Dailies, and then occasionally he would come up to Vancouver and sit down, and I would just be like, you're very much internally going, oh my God.
It's the Disney legend.
Just play it cool. And then for the whole time, you're just frozen in one pose and nodding at all the notes. We were showing one of my shots, and we were a small crew. And he was looking at one of my shots. He gave his notes, and he turned to me and very kindly went, "Thank you, Jennifer." And then he got up and left. And I whirled around to everybody in the room, and I go, "Nobody correct him. That is my name. That is my name on the credit. From now on, I am Jennifer Bartoszewski." And everyone had a good laugh. But, I am not going to correct Glenn Keane. I just went, "Thank you, Glenn." And he'll never know.
Hey, Jennifer.
Everyone laughed.
Have a good day, Jennifer.
Yeah, we had a good laugh about it later. And, it's a great memory I have of Glenn Keane. I'm like, he got my name wrong. He was great. He looked at me. No. And to this day, I'm still in the process of legally changing my name, but
to Jennifer.
We're working on it.
Yeah, you've changed the last name to Badgerow, but the first name still needs to get changed back to Jennifer.
I can't get my parents on board, but soon.
So after Jennifer worked at Sony, what was your next job after Sony?
Oh, right after Sony, I moved on to Blue Sky, where I met a very good fellow by the name of Nick Manfredi. And from there, a friendship was born.
The friendship was born.
That was a blast. Do you remember, what a unique experience it was?
It was.
To work as a temp in the middle of a forest.
Yes.
It felt not real. I'm pretty sure we walked through the wardrobe into Narnia for a few months.
It was really beautiful up there.
It was.
In Greenwich, Connecticut.
Yeah. It was really fun to work on Spies in Disguise.
Yes. It was a really fun movie.
It was a fun movie. I still love some of the scenes of Lance transforming into a pigeon.
Mm-hmm. Right here.
There he is.
The
you've got
up there.
You've got Walter and Lance, and then I always forget his name, but Gamora.
Yeah.
When he turned into a bowl of Jell-O.
Oh, right.
It was fantastic. I'm like, I don't know how you can make this look so good, and it was great. It was one of the films that had a villain that was a villain.
That's true.
He was evil through and through, and you loved that he was a villain. He was a good villain.
And there was no redemption story.
There was no redemption.
He just was the villain.
He didn't have any super sad backstory. He was just evil, and it was great.
Yeah.
And he was good at it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then after that, what was your next gig?
That was actually where I started moving towards Imagineering. At the time, I was looking for work in the US because I wanted to live with my now husband, my then boyfriend,
Mr.
David Badgerow. And just by chance, through the grapevine of DreamWorks, where Dave was working at the time, they sent out a letter from Imagineering as an open call for feature animators.
Oh.
And they had pinged DreamWorks saying, "Is anyone here interested in exploring the world of Imagineering? We are looking for feature-specific animators." And he pitched the job to me, and I looked at it, and the job title was figure programmer.
Yeah.
Is it something I would even be qualified for? Mm-hmm. And the basis behind it was the department that I'm now working for was essentially a newer department at the time. When rides are being created in the development stage, especially for Disney and Pixar IP, most of the development animation came from either Pixar or Walt Disney Animation Studios.
Right.
And it was great for creative intent, but soon the artists and the engineers that had to transfer that to a physical figure were finding difficulties from moving feature, which had a fully functioning rig with all the bells and whistles, to a more limited figure and still getting the same feeling and vibe. So they had then created a department within Imagineering that did both. They wanted to do the development animation and the final animation with the intent of being like, all right, we're already going to know what the limitations might be. Can we do development animation with less controls? And then we'll be able to get a more realistic performance of what that would become.
So cool.
So just at the time,
Yeah.
it was like perfect timing. I interviewed well. I got the job.
And so because the way that they set up that department, now you're working with the engineers who are actually building the audio animatronics, and you're kind of working in tandem with them and the costume designers and all these people to make the characters work as smoothly as possible.
It's so collaborative, and it's so fun to see how closely verbatim, like how those departments work and how it'll impact my figure, how my animation will impact their department. And we really work together like, oh, could you tighten the cloth here? It's like, that's going to be a little too restrictive. Can you loosen your animation, or could you restrict it? We might hit a wall. We might have a tear. So that's been really fun. And we still get to work with the major studios to make sure that we're keeping the IP on model and towards their creative intent of what they wanted the characters to be. So that's really fun.
So during your time at Disney Feature Animation, what did you work on while you were there?
I started on the Disney Plus shorts for Zootopia Plus.
Oh, great.
That was so much fun. I got to work on Strange World, got to work on Wish, and also a favorite, Once Upon a Studio.
Oh, it's so good.
It was great working with Trent Corey, one of the directors.
Trent's awesome.
Oh my God. So nice. So kind.
Fellow Canadian.
What a Canuck. What a pal. And I think one of my favorite shots I got to share was with Mark Henn, where I got to do a 3D character, and Mark Henn was working on a 2D character that was interacting with my character. So, you know, meeting in dailies and having Mark Henn come in and pat me on the shoulder was something that will be burned into my memory forever. And I will tell everybody, but if they ever ask me if I knew Mark Henn, I'll be like, nobody touched me on the shoulder once. And it was great.
And he called me Jess.
He called me Jess. He knew my name.
He knew my name.
It was great.
What were the characters that you were animating?
I got to work on Asha, and he worked on Snow White. It was one of the end scenes of a Snow White essentially bringing Asha in as the newest Disney princess.
Yeah, the first princess and the latest.
I apologize. Disney character. She's not a princess, but I should correct
well,
myself.
The first Disney heroine and the latest
Disney heroine. Yeah. And that was such a special shot, but also to, you know, work on as many characters that you didn't think you would get a chance to work on, like Nick and Judy and some of the polar bears. I got to work on some Encanto characters.
Oh, cool.
Oh, I got to work on Aladar, the dinosaur.
Oh, fun.
That was a blast. Like Disney's first feature in CG?
Yeah, first CG.
Like it was before Meet the Robinsons, right?
Yes.
What a passion piece.
Just won an Emmy. Congratulations.
Yeah, I generally, you know, don't get too sentimental. That's a lie. I cry at the drop of a hat. But every time I watch the animatic, it was just a waterfall.
It is. Yeah, it's beautiful. Beautiful short. And then how did you find your way back to Disney Imagineering?
I had been keeping tabs over the years just through my coworkers because there was a lot of furloughs. We always kept in touch. And I would always put the feelers out going, hey, how's production going? How are all the projects that I did get to work on, but now they were being installed?
And installed is what?
Taking the digital animation and then applying it to the physical figure. And once it has been applied, it has been approved, all of those animatronics that we have worked on are then packaged up and shipped off to be installed into their ride into the park. So I had got to work on some of the Frozen rides in Tokyo Disney Sea and the Tangled ride.
Oh, cool.
Coming back was so great. We were able to bring back almost everyone originally that we had before pre-COVID. So that was good. Then I got to take the other half of a project that I didn't get to experience when I had first started, which was taking the digital animation, applying it to the physical figures,
Yeah.
and then bringing that to install with Tiana's Bayou adventure.
Yeah.
And that was interesting to see my animation on the figure for the first time and seeing it work so well digitally, and thinking I was going to break the figure, because the first time you play it, the figure shakes.
Oh no.
And you just hit stop. But then when you smooth it out, everything works.
Yeah.
And it's such a relief. I was so excited that I finally got to show something I had been working on for 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, it's a long time.
And see how you reacted and see how audiences and guests reacted. So it was a big mix of joy and fear.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Nothing to be fearful of. It was amazing. And the performances that you did were just stellar. It was so good. And they were the best animatronics I've seen thus far. We're
just getting better and better.
Yeah.
It's so fun to see how materials develop, how skins develop, like the way faces deform now.
Yes.
The masks look so nice and squishy. It's great.
Your Lewis was amazing too, with the belly folds and everything and moving. It's just so good.
You know, it's really hard to get that final handoff where you have to say, this is as far as I can take it.
Right.
It is now going into someone else's
my baby
hands.
out in the world.
Yeah, and I cannot touch it anymore.
Yeah.
And, you know, sometimes you'll look back on a shot and go, oh, if I could only go back in,
right,
what I would change differently. And now I can see my shot essentially whenever I go to Disneyland.
Yeah, if you go to Disneyland every time you go.
Yeah.
Oh, I could have.
Oh, if only I had done this. Ooh. What if I got out of the boat? Is it
just
worth it?
Here, let me just move your head here.
Don't worry, guys. I'm just going to pull my computer out. And then I'll be carried out by security. Worth it.
Like, I swear I work here. I swear.
I swear. I'm sure that's what the guy on It's a Small World said.
Yeah, that's what he said too. I swear I work here. So what were some of the characters that you got to work on Tiana's Bayou Adventure? You did Lewis.
I got to do Lewis. I got to work on Tiana, Naveen.
Yeah.
Naveen's little brother, Ralphie. I think that was it.
That scene at the end.
Yeah.
The riverboat finale scene. So you did a lot of those characters, right?
I did almost all of the animatronic figures on the stage, minus Charlotte and Eudora, that were leading you into the thing. So that was great.
But
and
Tiana and Naveen.
Yeah. We still get to collaborate with Walt Disney Studios because there's digital productions in the background, and that was done by the animators at Walt Disney Animation Studios. Dave got to work on part of the ride, which was so fantastic.
Your husband got to work on the ride too.
We got to work on one ride together, which will always be really special.
Yeah.
I will say though, as much as I love that ride, I do not like drop rides, and that was really not fun because my finale is at the end of the ride. So in order to see my animation, I had to ride that ride so many times, and I couldn't just get on the boat. I had to ride through the entire ride, and I cried every time. There's so many videos of my coworkers taking photos of me just screaming going down the ride. It did get a little better.
You're like, I had to ride it 250 times.
I had to ride it over 50 times. Because we had to install it in Florida and in Disneyland. And Florida was worse. It was a bigger drop.
A bigger drop. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Oh, every time. It's funny. It's funny.
That's so funny.
Oh God. I can't wait for my next ride, which I hope has no drops.
There you go.
I hope it's just one single ride.
That's the silver lining.
It is a silver lining.
The next ride, no drops.
No drops.
You're like, that's what I told my artist manager.
Yes,
no drops.
No drops. They said, we'll see. Went, okay.
They're like,
Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Yeah. Yeah, you're working on Lion King for Paris.
I am currently not on that project, but my coworkers are, and they get to talk with Andreas Deja. And can you just imagine, so cool. Like, he's greatly helping us out as a consultant on the project, and his insight is so good. He is so nice. It's so nice to hear. And
who
just
was
so
he the animator?
I believe it was Scar.
Yes.
It is Scar.
Scar.
Oh my God. And did he do one of the lion? Was he Nala? Or
he may have done that too. I'm not sure. I know he was the lead animator on Scar, and he's did a lot of the villains. He did.
Did he do Jafar?
Jafar.
Yes.
He did Scar.
Yeah.
He did Gaston.
Oh my God.
But he also did Lilo.
Did he do Lilo?
And Hercules.
I love Hercules.
So good.
I could watch that film over and over
Yeah.
again. Oh my God. It's so amazing.
So he did some hero characters, but he's known as the villain guy, but he's done a little bit of everything.
I mean, I love Disney.
Me too.
I love the films.
Me too.
Do you have a favorite Disney character? Or like maybe a top 5?
Yeah. My go-to is always Ratigan, which is a Glen Keane character.
Oh my God. What, the voice actor. Richard.
No.
Vincent Price. There it is.
I wanted to say Jonathan Price.
I love Vincent Price. I was like,
Vincent
I love the
Price.
guy whose name I can't remember.
Yeah. Vincent Price from the beginning of Thriller.
Yes.
Yeah. When doorless chambers and,
He's
that's
in so
same
many
voice.
random things.
Yeah. What I always loved about Ratigan is that similarly to what we were saying with the villain in Spies in Disguise was he was just a villain.
Yes.
It wasn't actually, he did have a great backstory, which was this whole, I'm not a rat.
Yes.
I'm a mouse. I'm a big mouse.
It's a big mouse.
Yeah.
Silence.
But he just, spoiler alert.
Oh my God.
Falls off of Big Ben at the end and you're like, that's it.
Just talking about great cinema though, one of the scenes that I remember that left one of the largest impressions on me as a kid was him transforming into his rat. And, I didn't know at the time, but they were incorporating CG with 2D.
Yep.
And the climb.
In the clock tower with all those cogs all.
It was so good. So well done.
Yeah. And as he runs, he sheds his proper clothing, his suit with his, ascot and everything. And it rips off of him and he turns into the rat. It's
such an excellent transformative scene.
Yeah.
And told very quickly.
Very quickly.
But you registered everything. I know this is going to be overused, but absolute cinema.
And that's what made me want to get into animation.
Very much.
Probably that sequence.
Yeah. Oh, that was a good sequence. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go watch that.
I have the cell. I own the cell. I'll show you afterwards.
You son of a gun. Who's one of your favorite directors that you've worked with?
Oh, that's a hard one. I would say Byron Howard is a big one because he is just the nicest dude on the planet. And he is so talented. He's one of those people that he can tell you exactly what he means in like 4 lines. He can just sketch real quick and be like that. And got it.
Gosh
Done.
Darn. That's awesome.
He's amazing. He's pretty great. And then Joel Crawford over at DreamWorks.
Yeah.
He's and Daniel, they're co-directors, but he was he was the head of story. Daniel was, and Joel was the director on Croods too. And they were just very like open to ideas and just like they're good laughers and it's good energy, good time. So yeah, they were fun. Yeah, those were the 2.
You reminded me of a director that I miss. He directed Smurfs, but he passed away.
Oh, that's so sad.
But he was a jolly fellow. Yeah. He laughed all the time to every production.
What was his name? It's okay.
It's
Santa Claus.
Hang on. No, don't say it now. It's stuck in my head. His name was. Hang on. I just said his name yesterday. Dang it. Ashbury. Kelly Ashbury.
Oh, I know that name.
Kelly Ashbury.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's because we were talking about names and then I had Joel Crawford stuck in my head. I'm like, that's not his name.
It's a good name.
Yeah. He was so kind. And every shot he'd be like, and I can't do his laugh.
Why do I know the name? What else did he work on?
He did a 2D thing, I believe. Let's look it up. Do you have your phone? I do not have mine.
I turned it off, but it's...
Yeah. He worked on... What did he work on?
I want to say it's a DreamWorks thing.
It might have been.
It sounds super familiar. But anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. So was that the most fun? director to work
I'd
with?
say the best director I ever worked with was Doug Sweetland, and he was one of the co-directors on Storks, or he was the director on Storks, and then the head of animation was son of a gun. I like Doug Sweetland. Doug Sweetland was great, but the head of animation was amazing.
Was he a Pixar guy?
He was. He did Presto.
Oh my God. He directed Presto?
He directed Presto.
I love that short.
It's so good.
That's one of my favorite shorts of all time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when we got to the after party, like the wrap-up party, he gave everyone a Doug hug. And it was great. So I got a Doug hug. And he was just again, not in a weird way. It was you'd go Doug and you give him a hug and he's like, boom. And it was like a good solid hug.
Good connect hug.
Good connect. A nice little squeeze, not too long, not weird, but not like, a half tap, barely a touch,
not a
lean
wet
in,
fish hug.
Not a wet fish hug. This was the hug that you talk about hugs.
A Doug hug.
Yeah. And then who was one of the co-directors on Wish?
Fawn and Chris Buck.
Chris Buck. Chris Buck was awesome.
Yeah.
He was really great.
Frozen director.
Did he do Frozen?
And Tarzan.
Oh my God.
Yep.
Tarzan kicks ass.
Yes, it does.
I like Hercules more than
Hercules is
It's so
so good.
Like there's
Another
so
Ron
much
and John.
character development. Yeah.
They're my favorite directors.
Oh, I love teenage Herc. I love
Yeah.
young adult Herc.
Yeah.
I love the muses.
Yes.
They're my favorite.
My mom's friend is one of the muses.
Shut up. I love
but they were
that
they
your
were,
mom's
they were
friend. Oh
they
my
performed
God.
together, but she's the main muse who does We Are the Muses.
Oh my God. Apparently, I didn't know they're making a Broadway, or they have made a Broadway.
I think
want
it's
to
in the
see
West
it.
End. I think it's in the UK right now.
I bet it kicks butt.
Yeah.
I hope it kicks butt.
It must. The music's so good. Me and Russ always talk about that. We're like the best. What are the two best Disney soundtracks?
Oh. Well, Hercules. Oh,
Mhm.
but hang on.
It's fully debatable, but
It
we
is
have two
debatable.
that we think are like these big.
This is, I don't know. I'm huge for epic finales.
Yeah.
But I also love scores.
Yes.
So I love the score to Beauty and the Beast.
Yes.
But I love the end song of Moana.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
Oh, I'm curious. What are your two?
Well, the two that we always say is Hercules and Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Oh, 100%. 100%
Just
Hunchback.
for that big orchestral,
I rewatch the entrance. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Or the intro all the time. I have it on my Spotify.
Yeah.
Because like I don't even care that Judge Claude Frodo is in there. I need to hear that
Hellfire is
end
amazing.
note of
Yeah.
I can't remember his name, but like the main kind of Shakespearean monologue guy.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. And
Clopin, I think his
Clopin,
name
yeah.
is. Yeah.
and like when Quasimodo is singing.
Bells.
I mean, I love Heaven's Light.
Yeah.
I super love Out There.
Yeah.
God damn it.
Yeah, there's not, I mean, literally.
Every song
it's
is
a
good.
banger.
I'm sorry.
Everyone's a
I'm sorry.
banger.
I am like making weird noises now. Now I'm getting into I've turned off my phone voice. I'm going back. Oh my God, Hunchback of Notre Dame is the best.
It is so good. But yeah, Hercules is like, yeah, it's one of my favorites of all time. And Hades, truly, I mean,
It's
Radigan was
great.
my favorite because that was like
Yeah.
the impressionable when I was a kid. Like,
Yeah.
wow, he's scary. Like he was
Yeah.
actually scary villain.
He was terrifying.
Yeah, but then you liked him too.
Oh,
'cause you're
yeah.
like, oh, he's so charming and fun. And
Yeah.
this is so cool. What a cool character. But then Hades is that,
Yeah.
like, almost to the nth degree, you know?
Mhm. I think that's why when they started getting into like kind of buddy, more not slapstick, but comedy, just dry comedy and pulling that out. It started a little bit on The Lion King
Yeah.
when they were making references to movies that I did not know existed. Like they call me Mr. Pig.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, I'm too young to understand this reference yet. Or what do you want me to do? Dress and drag and do the luau? Or do the hula?
Yeah, do the hula.
And I'm like, I
If
did
you're
not know.
hungry for a hunk of fat and juicy meat, my buddy Pumba here because he is a treat.
It's so good. But one of my favorite Disney films is The Emperor's New Groove. And it is just such good timing.
Yes. Well, it's the funniest Disney film.
Yes.
That's what I think. Yeah.
I think so. I want them to make another film like that.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they will, because it wasn't considered the best.
Yeah.
Or financially speaking. But I think audiences liked it. I think critics liked it.
Yeah, totally.
I never looked it up on.
I'm not sure if it came out and was critically. I don't remember. Yeah. But it was definitely through the whole history of Disney movies, it is by far the funniest movie.
Eartha Kitt is such a good voice actress. Yeah.
Patrick Warburton.
Oh my god! It's like
it is
those are my two favorite characters, and they're not the main characters. Yeah. But it's
the
so
poison
well
for Cusco. Cusco's poison.
For the last time, we do not need a giant trampoline. You know what, buddy? You could have told me that before I set it up. What a great! Like it's my favorite joke. It's so stupid. Open this door and then we'll burn your house down. Don't you mean or? Open this door or we'll burn your house down. Oh my god! Good times.
That movie.
All right, sorry. And now we're leading.
I turned into a cow. Can I go home now?
Like, all serious. You're excused.
You're excused.
Yeah. Of course. Anyone else? Oh, no. We're good. I always wondered. I'm like, was that anything? Was that ever a reference to anything? Like, hey, I've been turned into a cow. Can I go home now? You're excused.
Of course, you're excused.
Like, is there anything on this menu that's not swimming in gravy? Oh my god.
Squeaker squeak. Squeak squeaking.
Oh my god, it's so good.
Yeah. Boom, baby. I mean, literally, we went to see David Spade do stand-up, and we just...
Was it great?
We sat there, and me and Rissa just waited, and we waited for him to go,
yeah.
And as soon as he did it, we laughed. We were like, amazing. And everybody was like, he didn't even tell a joke.
But it's the thing.
I'm like, but
he did the thing. He did the Cusco.
He did that.
Cusco's poison.
Cusco's poison. The poison specially made for Cusco. Cusco's poison. So good.
Tell me this. Would it not be, I wish this could be pitched at Walt Disney Imagineering. You know the Mummy ride?
Yes.
Have Dave and I talked about this?
God,
do you know where I'm going with this?
I do. I have a feeling.
Yeah. The Mummy ride.
Yes.
At Universal Studios. If we could just have a ride like that you have to go to Yzma's secret lab.
Yes.
You make it to the end of the ride, you pull the lever, Kronk, and then you pull the wrong lever, and then you go backwards.
Yep. Great.
Could you do that? Can we not?
Wrong lever. And then you drop down.
Oh my
and
God,
go backwards.
It would be perfect.
Yeah.
It would be perfect. And it's perfect for a dark ride.
It is. Yeah. You could even do like at the end of what's the Star Wars ride? The new one.
Rise of the Resistance.
At the end of Rise of the Resistance, where you're in the elevator and you drop and then you go out. Like that type of. I know you hate the drops.
I didn't. So
does that not bother you? That one?
It does now a bit, but when we first wrote it, I didn't know it was happening.
Oh, sure.
And I was so excited to take Dave on the ride, but I never got to ride the ride before. Yeah. So I was like, that's this. And he knows when drop rides happen. So of course we're riding up. It's like chink. And he looks at me and I'm like, just thinking. And then like an instant, just a minute later, because I didn't know it was coming, it was like, because it happened so quickly. If I knew it was coming, there would have been like a full yell. But I was like, oh. And then I looked, I was like, is there more? He goes, I don't know. But he was like, I thought you were going to warn me. I'm like, I did not know that was in there. Which in hindsight, we went up a giant elevator. I thought we were just going to come down a giant elevator. You know, it was very nice.
Yeah.
And even then, he kept looking over at me going, uh-oh.
Yeah, the first time I rode that, all I saw was one in the distance dropped, like one of the pods, and I was like, oh. And as that happened, we dropped. I was like, like I connected the dots as we dropped, and I was like, wow, that's so cool. Yeah.
Man, drop rides suck. Yeah, Splash Mountain.
Tiana's Bayou Adventure.
I'm so the best. Time to bring you back to size. I don't wanna. I'll stay a bug.
I'll stay up here.
I'm good, Mama Odie. Oh.
I don't need to see all the animatronics I animated.
Yeah. Oh, I got to meet the voice of Lewis, hey?
Oh, that's cool.
So good. He came in while we were doing promotions and he has Lewis's laugh. I can't do it because it's low, but like,
yeah, deep voice.
Oh my God, it's great. So sometimes, again, like when you hear the laugh from David Spade, when you hear the laugh, it's like Shrek, do the roar.
Do the roar.
I love you, Daddy. That's a great joke.
Yeah, so did he come to see the animatronic?
Yeah, so he got to see himself, and it was when we were doing promotional videos of the making of. So that was really nice. So he came, Mama Odie came.
Oh, Jennifer Lewis?
Oh my God. Like, lady, you're great. And she, she's just dressed fantastically. She's gorgeous. Oh, man.
So much energy, too.
So much energy.
We went to the 10-year anniversary of The Princess and the Frog. It was at the Goldwyn Theater in Beverly Hills. And we were at the theater and they did like a talk back after, and Randy Newman was there. And all these different people who had worked on the film. And yeah, all the actors and actresses were there. And Jennifer Lewis was just, I remember her, like, the lights were going down for something and she was just like, all right, I'm going over here. And it was just like this energy you could just hear.
She'd remind you of just like any grandma that would call you like sweetheart or something or sugar. And you're like, I want to be best friends with you. She's like,
can you
that's
adopt
nice.
Me?
Yeah. It's like, I got enough grandkids. But yeah. Did you know, like, just speaking of Tarzan, I had watched Ghost for the first time last year. Mm-hmm. It was great. Mm-hmm. It was darker than I expected. Yeah. But also kind of funny. His best friend, who, like, within the first 5 minutes, I turned to Dave. I'm like, is this the bad guy? Because he's, like, pretending to be the good guy. Is the voice of Tarzan.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And, like, now when I go back and hear it, like, Tarzan's voice is fantastic.
Yeah.
But did you know the yell is done by Clayton? The voice who does Clayton.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
So I guess there's a clip going around, and it's a fantastic clip at a panel where they're interviewing. I don't know if it's D23 or any of that, but it was the voice of Clayton describing his talk, and they were still trying to go through and find Tarzan's yell.
Yeah.
And I think he's British. He goes, I can do a good Tarzan yell. I'm like, sure you can. And he was about to leave, like, for the day, and he came back and belts it. And apparently they were like, wait, like, we need to get you for another day.
Oh, wow.
Go record. And he does the yell, and he does it amazingly.
That's amazing. Yeah. I didn't realize that.
I just found that out this year. Like,
wow.
That's neat. I like finding out little things like that.
Well, it's funny because you're saying about voice actors.
Yeah.
Do you ever watch Friends?
Yeah.
Okay, so on Friends, there's a character that Rachel dates named Joshua. She always goes Joshua. And I forget, he's like works in the fashion or something like that. He's like a fashion client or something. It's played by Tate Donovan, who is the voice of Hercules.
No.
So every time I watch Friends, I'm like, Hercules.
You can hear his voice.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Hercules is dating Rachel Green.
Like adult Hercules or teenage
Adult Hercules, yeah.
Ah,
yeah.
That's awesome. That's so awesome. I like finding stuff out because, there's a lot of people that do voice acting as their career, but they happen to have little...
Right. Well, they're actors
cameos,
at the end of the day, right? So they do like, they'll do TV shows. They do all these different things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so neat.
And then there are some that are just undeniable, like, Nathan Lane. You're
yes.
like, oh, that Timon's Nathan Lane. Okay.
So awesome. Yeah, it's so neat. I like I like finding out tidbits. I'd never seen Pee-wee's Big Adventure, but Dave was describing to me the other day the tequila dance. So he had to show it to me because he goes, it's kind of like, Wednesday's dance became iconic.
Yes.
This dance became iconic. I'd never seen it. So he showed it to me, and there was a love interest or a female counterpart in Pee-wee's Big Adventure, and Dave's like, it's weird. I've never seen her in anything else. I'm like, let's look her up. She's Tommy Pickles from Rugrats.
Oh.
I'm like, oh my God. So she's more of a voice actress now,
Yeah.
but she just happened to also
Is it
be an
E.G.
actress.
Daly? Or I think
She has an interesting name. It might be
I
that.
think that
like
might be.
two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I went, oh my God. Well, she's the female romance in
Yeah.
Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
It's also amazing how many little kid characters in TV most of the time are women, are doing the voice of like little boys, or
like Phil and Lil
and
Bart.
Yeah, Bart.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so many good ones. And Tommy Pickles.
And Tommy Pickles.
Timmy Turner.
Timmy. Oh.
Yeah.
It's
Jimmy Neutron. It's all it's all female voice actors.
I loved Fairly Odd Parents.
It's a great show.
It's a great show. I loved Vicky.
Yes.
But I love her more now because she voices Azula from like Avatar, The Last Airbender.
Cool.
And so now every time I see it, like, no, Azula's better. She's, again, a good villain character.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Anyway. We love a good villain. I love villain characters are so much fun. That's yeah, that was like I always dreamed of like, oh, it'd be so cool to work on a film that like focuses on the villains.
Yeah.
And then I realized that I kind of did get to do that with Bad Guys too.
Oh yeah.
Because they're bad guys. So I was like, true. Oh, all right. They're good bad guys. But,
yeah, but
you know.
I mean, and still there's bad guys, and like there's bad guys, and then there's always an antagonist in the film as well. So
they're bad guy, but doesn't mean
really
they're bad guy.
Thank you. Oh, it's so good.
We crush man's head like sparrow egg between thighs. And that's Rich Moore, who directed Wreck-It Ralph.
No, it's not.
He's that one, and then he's also Sour Bill.
Again, I love when directors do voices.
Yeah.
Mostly because like Rumpelstiltskin, come on.
Yes. Yeah, Walt Thorne did.
Oh.
But I would love to that's like a dream. That would be a dream.
Yeah.
To do a voice of any random character in a movie that I got to work on as a previs person, artist.
I don't think I ever wanted to be an actor, but I did want to be a voice actor. I never knew enough to get into it or really pursue it, but I like being behind a microphone much more than being necessarily behind a camera.
Right.
Because I will make very cute faces in the mirror. But sometimes when I see myself in playback, I'm like, oh, I didn't know my face made that face. It's not a good face.
Did you ever do like theater when you were a kid? Or
I did. But I was always like background characters, never really a main character. And still every time I would get full on stage fright.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious. So yeah, I do like acting, but again, I like pretending by myself.
Yeah.
And like making make-believe scenarios, having conversations in front of the mirror.
Right. Well, you can act and polish it to the point where you're like, okay, now it's ready to be shown
it's good
to somebody. So it's not just the first natural reaction.
Or I should have said that thing. Yeah, that would have been cool to say. But yeah, you were in theater in school as well, right?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I didn't do it till later though, which is funny because my mom's a theater actress, so she's a Broadway actress and she's a voice teacher. But I was always kind of intimidated by that. I was like, I didn't, not intimidated, but I just was like, oh, I am like the voice teacher's son. I got to be able to sing, and act, and do like, that,
do it all.
Yeah. So if I am gonna join this, the theater program, I got to be like ready to do it. And I did when I was like a junior in high school.
It's like a lot of early pressure you put on yourself.
Yeah.
But you don't, I'm sure a lot of people who are in our industry that also want to be in the industry, but then their parents are in the industry, can be like, I don't want to be known as so-and-so's kid.
Right.
I just want to be in the industry.
Yeah. And I'm sure it's like, my parents both were creative and were in the industry in different ways. Like my mom was in theater and my dad was in television, actually. He was a stage manager and director on a soap opera. But I went the other way of entertainment, which was film and animation. So you know, it kind of was inspirational to have parents who did the job, did a creative job that they loved, and it was very like attainable, you know, as a young kid who wanted to go into that, because it was like, oh, they followed their dreams and they got to work on the thing, you know. But it also, when I like for high school theater, you know, I was just like a little scared to jump into it. And when I did, it was the most fun I ever had. Oh, it was so much fun. Yeah,
that's really awesome.
Yeah, and we did a murder mystery. Was our first show.
That's awesome.
Got to play a British director, so I got to do an accent and be a character, like one of the possible suspects.
What was the name of the play?
The show's called Curtains.
Awesome.
And it's written by Candor and Ebb, who did. Oh my God, I'm going to screw this up. Carousel? I think they did Carousel. Oh my God. Maybe Cabaret even?
That's cool.
Maybe. But the music is really, really good. And in the original Broadway, it's David Hyde Pierce, who from Frasier.
Awesome.
Niles from Frasier.
He's so good.
Yeah, and it's about a detective who it takes place in Boston. And then he comes in and he's,
Does he do a Boston accent? He does
a Boston accent.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
He's doing a play right now, I think, in London.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And it's funny. He's doing the HMS Pinafore.
Okay.
Like
oh yeah. He's doing Pirates of Penzance.
Thank you.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah. I am the very model of a modern major general. I think that,
yeah. Well, he looks fantastic. And then, of course, it's so hard because I see him as like Sideshow Bob's brother. And I remember like a scene from The Simpsons where Sideshow Bob does the entire, I am the very model of a something.
Yeah.
I know that song from a TV show called Reboot.
Yeah, okay.
Because it was the series finale.
Right.
And, well, sort of they kind of tried to do like they did do made for TV movies after, but I didn't know what that song was originally. So when I first heard that song, I'm like, oh my God, it's the Reboot finale.
Reboot, yeah.
Someone like, no, that was a Broadway.
Yeah. That was a Broadway.
Sure it was.
Sure.
Yeah. Like, well, I can sing the Reboot one. Yeah,
I loved that. We watched Frasier. That was our family
show.
Oh,
that's awesome.
Frasier. And then my cousins would watch Roseanne, and we were like, "It's two very different.
It is
two very different
types
of shows. Yeah,
very different humor.
Yeah,
yeah.
What was it like when you made the transition from TV to movies?
Television has gotten so good with the quality that they do now.
Yeah, but
depending on the production's budget, you would be making quantity over quality, and just to make the deadline. So you would learn very good shortcuts very quickly to make the best possible animation you can in the littlest amount of time, and then you'd have a very small amount of time for polish.
Yeah.
And making that transition to film, where I would say, a lot of your animation is done in the polish phase, and then seeing that many more controllers and seeing secondary animation that I just didn't have time to do. And I think that's why my first project, as simple as it was on Storks, was so hard, because I really had to push facial expressions and push polish that in a way I'd never had to do before. Even in school, I never had to polish that much.
There's so many little
nuances
in the face that you really don't notice until you're really looking at a microscopic level at it.
Micro expressions, nose deformations. Like people will, if they make an O or a wide sound, like your nose is moving so much.
Little scrunches, while also your brows will go up.
Yeah.
And your eyes will,
eyelids. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And getting to learn from animators who are also really good draftsmen and understand the musculature of the face.
Everything going on underneath.
Oh,
yeah.
I was doing a shot on Wish, and my lead was a really good animator named Renato. And he's so good, and he is both a 2D and a 3D animator. And I got my shot to final. I got approval by the director, and he came by, gave me a pat on the back, and went, "Good job. Shot looks great." I'm like, "Okay, I want to polish it." And he paused and I paused, and I went, "I really want to polish it." He goes, "I'm so excited. Okay, the shot is let's make it look good." I was like, it's what? He goes, no, it's going to be great. Don't worry. But he goes, but right now, it's and he said it in a completely kind way.
Yes.
But he then was breaking down all of the facial expressions. And he's like, the way your mouth is moving from this expression to this expression, it's broken here. And it's broken here. You need to combine that. And it made me really analyze my shot.
Wow.
And it got so much better. I will say so many of the leads and supervisors at Disney, they make the time. They will make the time for you on top of their busy schedule. Like, what a wonderful studio to work at. I have not been at any studio except for one where leads didn't give all of their time to you guys and like trying to make your shot better to their team. And I think really the only other time it didn't work, the one time it didn't work was because it was a TV based schedule.
Yeah.
It was a VFX schedule and the lead was doing 3 other jobs.
Right.
And
They
we
just
were
didn't
doing
have
some.
time.
They didn't have time.
Yeah.
And they were very accommodating. They were still very accommodating and they tried to do all they could, but they were working 60 to 70 hour weeks.
Wow.
That was a nuts time.
What was the shot in Wish that you worked on that you pushed?
What was the shot? It was one of the shots at the end where it was Amaya finding Magnifico in the little glass staff.
Yes.
That was really fun. I think it was that one. I'm pretty sure because those were some of my last shots on the film. So we went through a series of different expressions of how she was going to react. And we really pushed it and had a lot of fun. And then funny enough, we took it to the directors and they loved the shot, but they went, let's go simpler. And so we ended up pulling back.
Oh, really?
But it was still really fun to explore. And that's always fun because, sometimes you're just throwing stuff at a wall and they can always appreciate, I see what you're going for, but just for the sake of everything fitting together, let's do this.
Let's
and you go,
simplify.
that makes sense. So I ended up greatly pulling back after, but it was really fun to make it all.
Yeah.
It was really fun to go through.
If you were to talk to a younger version of yourself or to someone who wants to become an animator / Imagineer, what advice would you give them?
It's very important to not get hung up for anyone who's getting into animation and really wants to work at a major studio, either in games, in film, to not shy away from starting at the smaller places because you get to learn so many good practices in animation, whether that is making really clean animation, working very efficiently, still working in a business and, understanding very tight deadlines and sometimes working with difficult clients. It's very apparent in television because you're working on smaller productions. So it's very intense. I think it's really important to know how good it is to start at a place like that. And, don't be afraid to fail. Have you ever had an experience at a studio where it didn't necessarily go the way you wanted it to? And I'll say this only with a small story of, I once worked at a studio in visual effects, and I found out very quickly that it was that I did not want to work for that studio. It was the crew specifically. Yeah. It was the management specifically, where they mishandled a lot of projects. Turns out, the studio wasn't doing common practices that they should have been, but I definitely found my limit where I knew this contract was going to be very short. And I'm like, well, it's a means to an end until I go back to the studio that I want to. Yeah. Myself and several of my colleagues ended up exiting early. So that was one lesson that I took away where I was like, no. By choice. Yeah. And they were still very kind. They gave me a recommendation, but I did find my limit for how much I could handle in terms of not necessarily mistreatment, but having to work hours, maybe not getting paid on time and having checks be missed, and just kind of seeing, I think the studio might be in a little more trouble than I think. I'm going to exit a little early.
Yeah, it wasn't a good fit.
It wasn't a great fit.
Yeah, actually my first experience in
You're
the film
kidding.
industry. Yeah.
Really?
In visual effects.
Oh.
And I was working on a movie that was an exciting movie to work on, but the supervisor sat right next to me. And I was a very junior artist. It was my first film. And, you know, I showed him progress as I was going. And he looked at my work and he goes, "Oh, I thought we hired you because you were a good animator."
Oh, that's...
And I went, "Oh, all right. Well, I feel very tiny."
Yeah.
So that was not a great first experience because it wasn't very encouraging. And it definitely felt like, you know, it felt like my work wasn't being respected, or, you know, he wasn't even giving me any critical feedback that would be helpful. But that was kind of a weird first experience.
Because then you wonder, like, are all jobs in the industry like that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And, you know, I didn't want to leave my desk all day. It was kind of a scary experience as your first experience. But very soon after that, I had a much better experience on the next show that I was on. They're definitely giving me feedback that's helpful. And then soon after that, I started at Disney as an apprentice and kind of went into a program where a big part of it is you're there to learn, you know? And I think that was a really helpful jumping off point for me. It was intimidating in a different way because now it's at Disney, it's super intimidating.
Yeah.
But it felt like there was a support system, you know,
it very
in place.
much is. Yeah.
And I've felt that ever since I've made the transition from visual effects to animation. But there were visual effects experience that I had that were awesome. That were so good. You know, it was really just the first one.
That can be a hard part of the industry, visual effects.
Yeah.
It was hard to move into feature, but did you find, like, moving from school to moving to a job, that is a big gap.
Yes.
It is so different. You know, my first job, it was great, but Vancouver's gotten so much better. At the time, I think I was making $400 a week. I was making less. I think I was making maybe $32,000 a year at most in Vancouver. I was making less at my job for the career that I wanted than my previous job working at a grocery store. So I was very worried. The first few months, I was scared. And, you know, you're in a city alone by yourself, sometimes away from home. But it got so much better after those first 3 months. I did find my groove. At my job, I did have a good support system, very good friends that helped me out. And then I just, you know, started developing those instincts. So, you know, to people starting up, those instincts will come.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Like, don't give up. You really it comes with practice. Yeah. It takes so long to master a craft. And I don't think we'll ever be done learning.
No. Oh, never. No.
Yeah.
There's an exciting part of that. That's not a daunting thing.
That's one thing I love about our job.
Yeah.
It's always exciting and you'll always see something new.
Yes.
And then you love it.
Yeah. Every project is new.
Every project.
You can find something new about every project and every character that you get to inhabit and every scene that we get to work on.
I love cartoons.
Me too.
They're great.
So is that what you would say you love most about your job?
Absolutely. I think there's always something new. And I love, you know, creating something new and seeing new things. I love seeing what other people are doing. I love seeing new things being done. Like, I just, you know, I remember as a kid seeing certain movies for the first time and being blown away. And it'll come in waves. And then I remember seeing The Incredibles and going, what is this? This is amazing.
So good.
And then I remember seeing Spider-Verse at Blue Sky and I lost it, where I'm like, I have not seen this level of storytelling and this style blended together. It felt new.
Yeah.
Even though we had seen both styles separately at different times. That was really good. And, you know, then even watching shows like Arcane, where I'm like, oh, this is fun.
Yes.
This is fun to watch and fun to just see what's coming next. It's so exciting. You never know what's coming tomorrow.
Yeah. That's what's amazing about animation.
Yeah.
And filmmaking in general.
And filmmaking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes
And
you see a great movie.
theme parks.
And theme parks.
You never know what's coming up next.
Wait.
Very, very exciting.
It's good. Yeah. Would you feel similarly
With
like your job is, or do you like something specific? You're like, I like to play with this tool.
the thing that I love most about my
Yeah.
job, the thing that I love most about what we get to do is the effect that we have on people.
Oh.
That's the part that I like the most, because I think that that's the reason why I got into it in the first place, and why a lot of us get into it in the first place. And I think that to have that connection through storytelling is the strongest tool that we have as humans to connect to other humans.
100%. Especially, I'm not the best with words, but
That's not true at all. You're very eloquent.
Oh, I practiced this entire interview before we got here.
That's
in
called
front
smart.
of a mirror.
You're prepared.
Yeah. But it's easier for me to show people how I feel through art.
Yeah.
And sometimes I can't find words to describe things, or, I have to spend 5 minutes looking up Google Thesaurus before I can figure out the word that I'm looking for. But I can draw it, or I could show it.
Yeah.
And someone will understand. And it transcends languages.
It does.
That's so nice. I think you worded it perfectly. It's just a great way to connect to humanity. Oh.
Well, I think that's a pretty great place to end this conversation, even though I don't want it ever to end.
Now we're going to talk for like an hour after this.
We're going to talk for an hour after this. We got cookies downstairs.
We've got cookies.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you for cookies.
But thank you so much, Jess, for taking the time to sit and talk with me about your career and your life in animation and Imagineering. And it was just so much fun and so interesting and insightful. And thank you for taking the time to sit down.
Thank you for having me. This was great.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Let's do it again.
Yes.
Part 2.
Definitely a part 2. And please watch Cocktail Fridays on YouTube, which is a series that Jess and her husband Dave do together. It's amazing, and she makes a lot of amazing cameos in it. And it always makes me giggle and happy every time I see you in there. And
that makes me happy.
is it fun to make them? It seems like it's so
really
much fun.
fun to make them. I know Dave will truly do 90% of the shows, but it's such a fun thing to do together. And it's really fun to think of how the episode is going to go and what intros we'll do and how that might tie into the drink. And luckily, both of us know some motion graphics, so it's really fun to think of what we're going to add into it. It's a really fun pastime to do.
Yeah.
Plus, we get to make a product out of it, which we get to enjoy after.
That's true.
That's really fun.
Yeah, it's so much fun. And please follow them at Cocktail Fridays on YouTube. And please like, comment, and subscribe below. And join us next week for our next friend. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.